What would you buy for $1.28 billion? Would you buy a nice house? Fancy car? Well, how about a logo? That's right, for $1.28 billion, that's billion with a B, you could buy the most expensive logo in history. Today, we're going to take a look at that most expensive logo in design history, why it costs so much, and what I think about it. But before we get into it, be sure to support the show by giving this episode a like, leaving a comment, and of course, by subscribing. This is Ziggy the Designer, the show where we talk about the world of graphic design and the people who make it move. Design is all around us, so we might as well talk about it. On top of every list of, the most expensive logos of all time, you're probably going to see, BP, the British Broadcasting Corporation, and Accenture. But on top of those lists, by a landslide, you're going to find Symantec. This logo came all the way back in 2010, and at its peak, Symantec was providing cybersecurity software for the world's biggest and most complex organizations, thinking about like large corporations, governments, even maybe militaries, right? Now, Symantec as a company has had an interesting past few years, right? The main company is now known as Gen Digital, but lots of the business was sold off. A lot of their products were renamed, and some of the naming rights from Symantec are still in use, but it's not really its own company. It's a lot of change. Point is, when they were known as Symantec, they did heavy and important work. So what does this have to do with a logo? Well, let's get into it. As you saw on the sign that I just showed, this is the Symantec logo that we're talking about. We have a check mark that sort of fades into this pixelization, right? Almost like Spider-Man when he's not feeling too good, Mr. Stark. And we have a Symantec written out in a pretty simple sans serif typeface. It's a pretty simple, straightforward logo. But for something as important as cybersecurity, I think simple is better here. You don't really want to mess around when you're talking about something as serious as cybersecurity, and you want a logo that reflects that. But if the logo was so simple, why did it cost so much? Now let's be real, right? Did Symantec charge a brand design agency like Landor or Pentagram $1.28 billion for this logo? No, they didn't. Landor and Pentagram, arguably two of the best brand design studios in the world, they won't even get away with charging $1 million for a logo design, let alone $1.28 billion. So where does that price tag come from? It comes from this little check mark right here. Now, in 2010, Symantec acquired a company called VeriSign, another cybersecurity company. And what this has to do with the logo is that checkmark was part of the old VeriSign brand. And there is a ton of brand equity built into that checkmark. That checkmark carried a reputation of security and reliability with the product that VeriSign had. This is something that takes companies years to develop, right? That reputation takes years to develop, and we don't even need to mention the amount of investment that goes into developing that as well. And Symantec, they wanted to attach that already strong reputation of VeriSign to the new logo after the merger, after the acquisition. And attaching that reputation to the logo, that's what cost $1.28 billion. So what do I think? First, I think $1.28 billion is too much to pay for anything, let alone a logo. But, in all seriousness, I think this is a great example of how a logo and a brand can connect with people's emotions. There was such a strong sense of safety, security, reliability when people saw that VeriSign checkmark that when Symantec bought them, they said, We want that check mark in the logo. And I think it strengthened their identity because of that. But what do you think about the Symantec logo? Do you feel like it was worth the hefty price tag? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. That's all I have for you. Be sure to give this episode a like, subscribe, and share. I've been Ziggy the Designer. If there are 2 things you need to know about me, it's that 1, I love design. And 2, I'm very opinionated. I'll talk with y'all later. Bye-bye.